Hello and welcome to this next Pilates session in the series of physical activity sessions that forms part of the University of Worcester's Staff Development Wellbeing Programme. If you haven't done Pilates before, I suggest you go to the McClelland Centre YouTube channel and watch work through the introductory Pilates session before attempting this next one. Like with all physical activity programmes, if you've had a recent illness or injury, or you have a medical condition that could be made worse by doing exercise, you might want to speak to your GP before starting. In a few moments, we're taking ourselves down into the relaxation position, which was the starting position that we learned in that beginner's session. But before we do that, I want to just recap or go through the breathing technique that we used in that first session and just make sure that we understand it fully. So when we're breathing in Pilates, we use what's called a thoracic lateral breath, which means we're trying to get the ribs to move not just forward, but out to the side and back. Because the rib cage is a dome shape, we want really to make sure that the ribs are fully expanding and then contracting. And so to help you to do this, you can do it in a standing, kneeling or seated position to practice just beforehand. You can either use your hands to give yourself feedback, so you'll cross your arms over and put your hands on the lower part of the ribs, or if you had a towel, or better still, something that with a little bit of give. In this case I'm using what's called a TheraBand or a Dynaband. And you put that around the back of the rib cage, bring it over the front of the body, and just hold on to, so there's a little bit of tension. And the idea is either using a band, a towel, or your own hands, you're just getting a little bit of feedback to sense and be aware that you've moved correctly. So we think of the upper part of the body as a set of bellows. So where you've got the band, the towel, or you're placing your hands, are like the handles on the lower part of the ribs, are like handles on a set of bellows. And when you breathe in, those handles are going to be moving out to the side. So when you take that breath in, you want to feel there's a bit more tension on the band, or the towel, or into your hands. And when you breathe out, you're going to squeeze the air from your lungs. So those handles are helping to draw the air in, and when you breathe out and squeeze the air from the lungs, then the bangs, which are your lungs, will start to empty and they'll come out through your throat and your neck and through your mouth. And we want to make sure that the ribs are moving forward into the side and back. So we're getting a full breath, not a shallow breath and just hoiking the shoulders up and down. The collarbones will lift slightly, but there's only a small amount of movement there. We're really focusing on how the rib cage is expanding and contracting. Now ideally the ribs should just spring back in. But over time we lose a bit of that elasticity. And so to help you to squeeze the air from the lungs, we can use other parts of the body, predominantly the lower part of the abdomen. So when you breathe out, you may feel your belly button being drawn to your spine. So the diaphragm will naturally move down on that in-breath. It'll relax on the out-breath, and you'll feel your belly button drawn to the spine if you're breathing quite forcefully. And also, below your belly button, a couple of inches below, you'll feel it all get a little bit firmer in that lower part of your abdomen. And these are much, much deeper abdominal muscles that help to expel the air from the lungs. And they're the same group of muscles that you will use to maintain your stability as we move. So if you go and do that first session, or you've done the introductory Pilates session, you'll know that we've worked on trying to maintain stability of the pelvis and help to maintain the alignment of the spine as you're moving. And this forceful out breath will help you to engage the muscles that support us whilst we're moving. So you'll hear me give you instructions as we're moving to take your breath in wide and full to your side and back, breathe out to squeeze the air from your lungs, feel your belly button drawn to your spine. And we do that just before we make a movement to make sure we know we've engaged those core muscles and then make that movement. And you can practice this breathing at any time. So you could be working on the computer, just take a few deep breaths into the side and back. You could be driving the car, pushing the trolley around the supermarket. Whenever you get an opportunity, just have a little practice of it. Because the more you practice, the easier and more automatic it will become. Okay, so let's make that start. So last time we used cushions, and you can use them again this time. So you choose the right height of cushion to put your head on. So imagine that soft pinch between your nest, between your chin and chest. We're going to take ourselves down into that relaxation position. So your feet and knees are hip width apart. You've checked your pelvis is about the same distance from your to the mat. And then you use your hands to carefully take yourself down into that relaxation position. You want your bottom reasonably close to your heels, so you're not too far back on your heels or forward on your toes. Check your pelvis and your shoulders to be the same distance from the edge of the mat. And your cushion is at the back of your head, and your neck is dropping into the gap between the cushion and the floor. Your arms are lengthening away down by your side. And so then we're going to check that the pelvis is in the correct position. So we think about that little marble, we're going to roll it from our belly button towards our toes, find a balanced position somewhere in the centre where we then have that natural arch in the lower part of the back. We allow the pelvis to rock from side to side, from left to right, from east to west, but eventually that marble comes back and sits 2 inches below your belly button. And we send those sit bones away from us, one side then the other, as if we've got drawstrings that we're lengthening one side then the other, but eventually you want the same length down both sides of the body, so the pelvic bone and pubic bone are level in line, the sit bones going away towards your ankles and the very base of the spine, the sacrum is resting flat on the floor. We have the natural arch in the lower part of the back, good connection to the floor between the shoulder blades, those ribs remain soft, arms lengthened away down by your side. You smooth out all the muscles of your face and you find a comfortable position for your tongue in your mouth. There's no tension in your throat, and we can take those deep breaths in that you've just been practicing, feeling your belly button drawn to your spine before you move. And so we're just going to now loosen up the shoulders. So as you breathe in, you draw one shoulder towards your ear, and as you breathe out, you lengthen your arm back down by your side. We do those shoulder shrugs, alternating one side then the other. And then we can do both shoulders at the same time. We imagine a spring expanding when you breathe in and draw your shoulders up, and compressing as you lengthen arms back down by your side. We do it one more time and keep the arms where they are until we float them up over the shoulders for those shoulder drops. So we're going to scoop and lift one shoulder away from the floor and then melt the shoulder back into the mat. Feeling a release of tension each time you drop your shoulders into the mat, and then you start to look to one side to the corner of your eye, let your head roll in that direction, your shoulder will follow, and your arm will follow your shoulder as you start to make them diagonal, reaching across the body one way, then the other. Letting it flow with your breath. We come back to the centre and we do shoulder drops with both arms. And it's slightly circular, scooping your shoulders forward, up, and away from your ears. And then we start to look to one side again and allow the head to roll in the direction that we're looking. We let the chin roll towards the shoulder, so the nose is making a figure eight on the ceiling, and the arms just trace that figure eight, and then we go the other way. And we slowly make the movement smaller and bring everything back into the centre. And as you breathe in, you bring your arms to your side, and you breathe out to do that pole raise. Breathe in to return. Remember to breathe out just before you move to feel that engagement of those deep abdominal muscles, just like you did a moment ago when you were in a kneeling position. The next time we do it, we have that leg slide that we did in the first introductory session. Breathing out as you go away, into return. You're keeping your ankle, your knee, and your hip joints all in line. And the pelvis remains anchored to your mat in that stable balanced position that you found just before you started to move. We do one more individual leg slide, and then if you want to change yourself a little bit more, you can do both legs. Again, without changing the position of your pelvis. So we still keep the natural curve in the lower part of the back. Two more. When you've done this last one, bend both knees and bring your arms level with the chest. And we're going to do the starfish. And this time, instead of starting with your arms by your side, you're going to start with your arms level with the chest. So as you breathe out, you raise one arm out behind you, and the opposite arm and leg goes straight down, out, along the floor. So you can feel the base of your spine stay connected to the floor. One more. When you've done this last one, bring both arms over the chest and then take one arm above your head, the other arm down by your side like we did a moment ago, but then sweep both arms around in a big circle in opposite directions, and we do that again. We call these windmill arms. And you'll notice when the arm goes down by your side, the palm of the hand faces the floor, and when it's above your head, you rotate it to face the ceiling. Change direction. You maintain the alignment to the rest of the body. The arms just naturally move in the socket of the shoulder. And then we can alternate the directions. Bring your arms over the chest and change. And then if you want to, you combine this with the starfish. Maintaining your alignment as you move. One more time. When you've done this last one, bring both arms over the chest. We're going to do those arm flies with that knee drop that we did in the introductory session to Pilates. We then do an arm fly on the one side of the body and a knee drop on the opposite side without changing the alignment to the pelvis. We can then add that head roll when you look in the direction of your knee drop. And then you can do your arm fly and your knee drop to one side of the body whilst you roll your head in the opposite direction. Or do everything in the same direction without changing the alignment to the rest of the body. Two more. When you've done this last one, bring your arms to your side. Breathe out and do that simple knee fold with a little bit of hip turn out. Breathe in to put the foot down. So you just fold at the knee, allow the hip to fold into the hip joint. Shoulders stay relaxed. You engage the core just before you move. You can make it a double knee fold. With that little bit of hip turn out, shin bones are parallel to the floor, feet together, knees are in line with the shoulders. We're going to do that one more time. So as you breathe in, you can put one foot back to the floor and raise both arms out behind you, and then breathe out to drop your arms down to fold up your knee. So it's like you're just tapping your toes onto the floor and folding up that knee. And if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, you tap both feet onto the floor with those pole raises. One more time. Press one foot back to the floor, and then we do the knee stirs. Pulling the leg across the body. Now if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, you start to extend and lengthen that leg that you're circling. And the further you take that leg away from you, the more challenging it becomes to maintain your alignment. You can change direction. So if that long lever, that straight leg is too challenging, simply bend the knee and work with a shorter lever. So you work at your own level, allowing your hip to move in the hip joint. When you've done this last one, place that foot back to the floor. As you breathe out, fold up the other knee, and then breathe in to stir this knee. Now, we imagine a little marble on the lower part of the abdomen rolling around, a little clock face on the lower part of your abdomen. So actually, there's a little bit of movement to the pelvis. We're not rigid. And it's either a knee stir or a leg circle, change direction. If you've got trousers and you want to help, a bit of support, you can use your hands, take hold of the trousers, just to guide that leg around. One more time. When you've done this last one, Place that foot back to the floor. And so we've been working predominantly on the stabilisation for your pelvis. Now we're going to move on to some mobilisation for your spine. So we're going to go into those spine curls. So we want the bottom a little bit closer to your heels. We may not need a cushion for this next one. We keep that sense of length at the back of the neck. You think of that little marble. As you breathe out, you roll that marble towards your belly button, and when you breathe in, you roll back with control to the floor. So you're scooping and lifting the spine away from the floor, a vertebrae at a time. Breathing in to return back to that stable position. When you peel the spine away from the floor, feel the weight of the body going into you, towards your feet, and not back onto your shoulders. So you're getting a real sense of openness through the front of your body. And the next time you do that, breathe out to peel the spine away from the floor. Breathe in to raise both arms out behind you. Then breathe out to roll your spine to the floor. Breathe in to drag your arms to your side. So we're having that pole raise or that rib cage closure. So the arms are there, no longer there for support. And we feel slightly more open to the front of your body. When you've done this last one, either place your hands on your thighs, across your chest, or clasp the hands together and place them at the back of your head for your abdominal curl-ups. So tuck your chin in as you breathe out, flex the spine, curl up and look down the front of the body, breathe in to return with control. So you get a little imprint of the lower part of your back into the mat. The pelvis stays anchored to the mat. The hands just support the head. We do not pull on the neck. We're going to do it one more time. And then the next time we do, we're going to hold it up there. Breathe in and reach down with one arm. Breathe out and reach down with the other. Breathe in to bring one hand back. Breathe out to bring the other hand back. Breathe in to lower with control. Alternate. Which arm you lead with. Your head stays in line with your spine. And your pelvis stays anchored to the mat. When you reach down, curl up a little bit more. Stay curled up until you roll back. We'll return to these in a bit. So you might want a cushion underneath here for your arm, your hip rolls, which we're going to combine with those arm flies. So we're going to raise both arms up and over the chest, bring your feet and knees together. As you breathe out, roll your pelvis and legs one way and do your arm flies. So we're rolling one leg over on top of the other. So you're lifting one foot over the other. It's like the floor comes up underneath your feet. And you keep the natural curve in the lower part of your back. Then you can do an arm fly to one side of your body, hip rolls in the opposite direction. And if you wish, look in the direction of the arm fly and let your head roll that way. So it's almost like the upper part of the body feels like it rolls one way, the lower part of the body the other. We'll return to these in a moment. So again, back to our ab curls, clasping the hands together, elbows forward, with those arm reaches. 3 more. Feel that little imprint of the lower part of the back into the mat when you curl up. One more more before we change it. So this time, breathe out, breathe in, do a single knee fold, out to make it double. In to put one foot down, out to put the other. In to bring one hand back, out to bring the other back. Breathe in to lower yourself to the floor. 3 more. Again, alternate. Which side you lead with. All the while, the base of your spine stays connected to the floor. When you've done this last one, lower yourself to the floor. Let's go back to those hip rolls. Except this time, you can either do it with your feet on the floor or fold at one knee then the other, so we're in a double knee fold position, and roll your pelvis and legs one way. Do your arm flies. Still keep the natural curve in the lower part of the back, or do an arm fly. So again, you just roll one leg over the other. Roll one hip over the other. Keeping the back of both shoulders connected to the floor. They do not lift from the floor. You can look in the direction of your arm fly and let your head roll. There's no twisting in the pelvis. It's simply a roll. One more time. Place both feet back to the floor. We're going to those twisting curls. Elbows out to the side so you see them. Tuck your chin in. Breathe out to curl up and rotate to the upper part of the body. So it's the rib cage that turns. Look where you want to turn. 4 more like this. You're drawing one shoulder across the body. Watch you turn the other towards the floor. Now the next time you do it, if you wish, you slide the leg you're not curling towards out along the floor without changing the position of your pelvis. Or you fold the knee you're curling towards without changing the position of the pelvis. When you've done that last one, you roll over onto your side, put yourself up into a sitting position. If you do have a Dynaband, you might want to keep it handy. We're going to sit right at the front edge of your mat. You're going to sit up on your sit bones, those knobbly bits on your bottom, and keep as much length in both legs as you can. Then, from there, you can use your thighs for support. Take your breath in, sit as tall as you can, lengthen spine through the crown head, and as you breathe out, stretch as far forward as you can, lifting each vertebra up the one below, and then breathe in to restack your spine. And as you breathe out, start to roll down through your spine. Now, if that's as far as you go, and your legs are starting to lift, you hold it and take a breath in. You breathe out, come forward, and breathe in to sit tall. Before you breathe out and stretch as far forward as you can comfortably go before you breathe in to sit up again. And then breathe out. Perhaps roll a little bit further back. Breathe in to come up. And then breathe out to stretch as far forward as you can comfortably go. Now, if you have got the band, you might want to cross it over your legs, sitting nice and tall. And then as you breathe out, roll as far back as you can comfortably go. And use the band to give you some assistance. Again, going all the way back is too challenging. Don't go all the way back. You haven't got the band. You can use your hands for support. So you peel your spine away from the floor. If you can't go all the way back, you go as far as you can comfortably go. Hollow out those deep abdominal muscles and then sit nice and tall. Before you lift each vertebrae one at a time off the one below it, and then restack your spine. One more time, working at your own level. You can softly point your feet on the way down, breathing to come up, and then flex the feet so that as you stretch forward, you feel a pull all the way through the back of the body before you breathe in and straighten back up. So again, up to your side now, and mobilise the spine, and flexed and rotated it, and we're going to go into the oyster. So we're going to use both cushions at the moment, and we're going to have them up against the edge of the mat, half of them in contact with the mat, the other half, so that when you lie on your cushion and the mat, your shoulders are at the back of the mat, with your pelvis at the back of the mat, your breastbone and pubic bone at the same distance from the edge of the mat, so you're lining up your spine. You're propped up on the outside of the arm. This hand can be out in front for support to begin with. You can start off with both legs out in line with the front corner of the mat, and then simply bend the knees, bring the heels back to send those knees away to start opening the hips. So as you breathe out, you lift that top knee off the bottom knee. As you breathe in, you lower. So you're doing that oyster that we did in the introductory session. Breathing out to go away and into lower. And there's no collapsing onto the floor. Those pelvic bones are stacked one on top of the other. If you wish to work a little harder, you turn that bottom hip out as well, so the knees turn towards the floor, and that'll lift both feet a few centimetres from the floor. Now, in the introductory session, we also did what was called an arm opening. So now, if you want to, you combine it with the oyster. So you breathe out to do your oyster, and as you breathe in and lower the legs, you turn that reach back. Then breathe out to do the oyster. So you're keeping that sense of length in your waist. Your pelvic bones are stacked, one on top of the other. Look where you want to turn that arm. There's a little rotation in the upper part of the body around the rib cage. One more time. When you've done this last one, lower yourself to the floor, straighten the leg out in line with the front corner mat and that bottom leg right down below you, and then put your small cushion to one side for a moment, so that as you breathe in, you can do that leg lift and reach for the ankle of that leg that you're lifting. And then if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, when you lift the leg, you can lift and rotate the top arm in the socket of the shoulder, so the palm hand faces the thigh when you bring it to your side, and the floor when you raise it above your head. If you find that's too challenging, you can keep your hand on your thigh, or even out in front of you for support. When you've done this last one, put your small cushion back where it was. With the hand out in front for support to begin with, you can do some leg circles. It's like you're trying to unscrew your leg from your hip. And then you can change direction and go the other way. So you're just brushing the floor as you lower the leg to the floor with control. And then if you want to, you do it again, but you can combine it with those chalk circles that we did in session one, either with a short lever or reverse it, making that lever longer. Still keeping the pelvis stable. One more time. When you've done that last one, push yourself up into a sitting position. Let's turn around and do everything on the other side. So come and line yourself up. And oyster. Pelvic bones stacked one on top of the other. Belly button is drawn to the spine. Forceful out there. Turn the bottom hip out to lift both feet so they're up in line with the spine. Pelvic bones still stacked, one on top of the other. Add the arm opening if you wish. Two more. When you've done this last one, straighten that top leg back out in line with that front corner mat and that bottom leg down below you. Put your small cushion to one side, and as you breathe in, lengthen and lift that bottom leg. Reach for the ankle to drag your head off your cushion. And then if you want to float that top arm up, we get that sense of length from top to toe. Two more. When you've done this last one, you can put that small cushion back where it was, and then we start to circle that bottom leg as if unscrewing it from your hip joint. Hand out in front for support if you want. Change the direction. You brush the floor with the leg. Breathing in to lift, out to lower. Then you can change direction, and you can add that short circle with a long or short lever. Longer lever, we straighten the arm. Change direction, go the other way. You still maintain the alignment of the upper part of the body. The pelvic bones are stacked one on top of the other. There might be a little rotation through your rib cage. One more time. When you've done this last one, we're going onto your front to do that diamond press with a salute. Now, we used the cushion last time for feedback. You can use it again if you want. For the pelvic bone and pubic bone, and we think about having the same pressure on both points. So, tips of the middle fingers together, elbows out to the side to put space between the collarbones. Walk the legs back to get a sense of length in your body. Think of that little marble in front of your nose. As you breathe out, roll that marble away. Breathe into low with control. So it feels like your shoulders are being drawn away from your ears as you just extend your spine. You can keep one hand in contact with your forehead, and you can pull the elbow out to the side straight away if you wish. If that's too challenging, simply keep your elbow in contact with the floor. And then you can start to lengthen and lift the leg on the opposite side of the body. As we do the salute with a single leg lift. And the next time you do it, if you want to, just look at the elbow that you're lifting and add a little rotation in the upper part of your body. When you've done that last one, push yourself up into a kneeling position for the cat curl. We'll start off with the ones that we did to begin with, and then we're going to just make them a little bit more advanced. So fingertips off the front of the mat, toes off the back of it, pushing the floor away from underneath you. As you breathe out, you start to just gently curl the spine, send that tailbone away from you, and then breathe in to re-stack the spine. So we start off by sending that tailbone away, moving each segment of the spine one at a time, and then reverse it. Feel your belly button really being drawn to your spine. Start to feel you're rocking gently back towards your heels as you hinge at your hips and bend at your knees. Breathe in to come forward. This time, as you breathe out, drag your hands back, and when you breathe in, straighten up. Breathe out to slide the hands back along the floor, and breathe in to draw yourself forward. Now, the closer you keep your hands to your body, the easier the exercise. So if you want to work a little bit harder, keep your hands and your arms that little bit further away. Because the further they're away from the point we're moving from, the more challenging that exercise is. When you've done that last one, you can put your small cushion back where it was, because you're now going to do what's called the dart. And it might be easier just to turn your head to one side this time to breathe. Your arms this time are lengthening away down by your side. Now we want that sense of openness through the hips. So you're going to bend both knees, let the knees slide out to the edge of the mat and let the feet drop out, and then start to roll the heels towards one another. And as we do, we roll the shoulders back and down and rotate the arms so the palms of the hands face the thighs, and then breathe in to lower your head to the floor. So we feel as we roll those shoulders back and down, there's real space between the collarbones, and we're breathing in as we come up. So you get that sense of length through the body, but expanding the spring. But you still can keep your belly button drawn to your spine. You can still protect the lower part of the back because you're breathing into the side and back of the body, which you practiced at the very start of the session with your hands or the band. And perhaps you notice when you roll those heels to one another, as you open your hips, you're able to lengthen and lift both legs a few centimetres from the floor. When you've done this last one, push yourself up into a kneeling position. And we're going into the rest position. Now, remember, you could sit back onto a cushion if you felt it was uncomfortable on your knees, or just let your knees move a little bit further out to one side. And then as you breathe out, drawing your belly button to your spine, sit right back onto your heels, drop your forehead to the ground, and you can rest your hands and your elbows on the floor. Take those deep breaths in, drop those sit bones a little lower, and then go all the way onto your sit bone, onto your heels, and we're back to where we started. So I hope you've enjoyed that next session. We'll be continuing on from here. So once you've mastered this program, then again, like you did with the introductory session, please feel free to go to the McLean Centre YouTube channel, where you'll be able to move on to the next level. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.